I want to talk to you about something that I think is very important, and that is having an attorney who doesn't give up. And that can happen anywhere along the way. Now, there are attorneys who won't take child sex cases, for instance, or certain types of cases they won't take. So, in a sense, that's giving up on a whole category of cases that they don't want to deal with. And that can be because they know that they can't sit across from that particular type of defendant and do a good job for them without judging, or it'll be just too distasteful and they don't want that money. Maybe they feel it's dirty money. There's all sorts of reasons. But if an attorney says they don't want to take a type of category of case, believe them, let them do that, and you find someone who will take your category of case, because it's important to have someone who is going to give their full effort and isn't going to prejudge you. You don't need another judge in the case. You've already got one that's going to be on your case. You don't need your attorney to play that role as well. So the attorney can give up from the client interaction. They may not like something about you. That can be hard to read. A lot of attorneys are going to just want to get that money, get the file in and start working it. And, but you don't want them to be affected by their negative judgments of you. So if you feel it, you need to go somewhere else. I really strongly believe that. I've said this many times. How can someone who's working on your behalf communicate who you are, what you're about, and the good things about you if they don't even understand you or they don't like you? It's going to be very difficult. And that is a critical component of representing someone on a criminal case, whether it's before a prosecutor, a judge, or a jury, or a grand jury. It's critical. All right, so that's one type of give up. Give up on categories of cases, give up on the defendant themselves, give up on the fact patterns. I had a case early on in my career. It was a DWI that was just so packed with bad facts and a high blood test result. And it was a commercial truck driver. He had booze in his truck. He had ammunition. He had hollow points. He had like 300 plus rounds of ammunition. He had 5 guns. This is before guns were legal to carry in your car. So he was just across the board. There were so many things that were horrible about this case. And so I told him, look, it doesn't look like really good facts for you, but because he was a commercial driver, he had to try the case. He had to win. So we took it to trial. And there was another attorney that I tried to collaborate with on that case, who I was just starting in my career. And I said, hey, will you work with this case, work with me on this case? And he said no. And the reason he said no, and I got this from other people who told me this, is because he was trying to protect his win percentage, and he didn't want to take on a case that was more likely to be a loss. He wanted to take cases to trial that he thought he could win, and he didn't think it was a winner. So you need an attorney who can assess a situation and can make good decisions based on where things are and what the facts are and the evidence. You don't want someone blind to all that. But you also don't want someone who takes a bad situation and prejudges it and thinks, oh, I can't win this. You want someone who doesn't give up on the facts. You also want someone who doesn't give up on the jurisdiction. Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. There are attorneys who won't go to other counties. They like Dallas. Maybe they like Tarrant. They like the counties they work in. Now, if it's just because of the time constraints and because they don't have the time to get out to these other counties because they're so busy in Dallas County, that's fine. But if it's because they don't want to get hometown, or they're afraid of, having bad energy or mojo for being the out-of-town attorney who comes in like a big shot and everybody hates, well, don't get that attorney on your case if they feel that way, and you may not know it, but if they feel that way, you don't want them going out there trying to help you. You want someone who's got a positive focus, a positive energy. You want someone who can do a job looking at everything, working with everything, and not saying, oh, this is bad. Oh, no, I can't work with this. Another thing is judges, individual judges. There are attorneys who won't work in certain courtrooms, and if your case is in that court, you got to find someone who will work in that court. And if they tell you they won't, let them, don't try to persuade them. Just go to someone else. But it's kind of a shame, because I found that some of the most hated judges have given me really good results. The very first case I took to jury trial was a case in a court where everybody talked very poorly about that judge. They said he was a tyrant, he was terrible. And I understand that. There were reasons for them to say those things. But my client's case was in his court. He wanted me to represent him. I had to go in there and be as professional and polite and respectful as I could with that judge and work around whatever the difficulties were and get a good result. And so we ended up, the judge gave me a very fair trial and we got a not guilty. Now there was a tragedy that came after that was unrelated to that. It was in the news, and that was shocking. But the bottom line is I got a good result from a hated judge because I wasn't afraid of it. I was wary of it. I took it into consideration. I made adjustments to my strategy and my plan, and it worked. But that's why you need an attorney who doesn't have this give up function in them, where I always say I try not to prejudge cases. The DWI case I talked about where everything was just horrible, that is one of the first experiences I had where I learned not to prejudge a case. You can think, oh, it's terrible, it's terrible, it's terrible. They've got everything. And I still have cases that look like that. But I still take the same approach to those cases. I still go in and give it my best effort and make my best decisions without letting that be the whole story. I still have to go in and do the best I can and fight as hard as I can and not give up. Another thing I say a lot is you never know when you're going to find a silver bullet that's going to make the difference on your case. It's going to totally change the whole game. So you can't give up. Giving up is just wrong. Now, if I get to a point where I believe there's nothing more I can do and my client is at a decision point, they've got to go this way or this way, and that's as far as we can go, I'll tell them that. I don't think that's giving up. It's getting to a decision point. I've been the second, third, fourth attorney on cases. I get really good results when I come in after people. That's another thing. A lot of attorneys don't want to follow other counsel. They won't take a case where they're the second or third attorney. And like anyone else, I look for the red flags in that and say, well, why did this relationship sour? What happened here? And, I have to be concerned about that. But, I've gotten such good results on cases where I'm the next in line. So you got to have an attorney who's got that mindset, because it comes up in so many different facets of a case where they have the opportunity to say, that's it. No, it's over. You suck. I've seen attorneys go into courtrooms, talk to prosecutors, and badmouth their clients, call them names, knucklehead, motherfucker. And they may think that's part of their strategy. I don't know. It's not one I really agree with. Maybe in limited circumstances that would work as a humorous sort of thing. But I think they want to get on common ground by taking a dim view of the client like the prosecutor does and get a good result despite that. So I see that sometimes, but I don't think it should be an overarching strategy. And for some people, I think it kind of is. I don't know what else I want to say about this. Tenacity is important. Tenacity and just hanging in there and always keep fighting and looking for things to make a difference. And then when you reach a turning point, give your best advice to the client and let them make their decision and go with that.